Hey everyone, thanks for joining us and tuning in today. It's Beth Bialco from the International Dermal Institute in Dermalogica. And in light of everything that's happening right now in the world, I thought this would be the perfect time for us to actually have really great conversations about not only, what to do for yourself, your family, but your clients, but also too, most importantly, how can you take care of your overall body health? And I could not think of anyone more perfect to join us on this recording today than Dawn Jackson Blatner from Chicago, Illinois. Thank you, Dawn, for joining us today. We're so excited to have you. So a little bit about Dawn, in case you guys haven't been following her on Instagram, or if you're not familiar with the world of nutrition and food. Dawn is a registered dietitian, nutritionist, and a certified specialist in sports dietetics. She actually has two amazing books, which I love, The Flexitarian Diet and The Superfood Swap. Along with all the busy work that Dawn does when it comes to really advising people on their health, their wellness, food intake, and nutrition, she actually has an amazing blog. It's called the Nutrition Wow blog, and it's ranked as one of the top nutrition blogs by Health Magazine. And she is a trusted expert in food and nutrition. And you may have seen her appear on regular media outlets like the Today Show and Good Morning America. So I've had Dawn come on today to talk to us about how can we actually help to boost our immunity. Whether you're feeling great right now or maybe a bit under the weather, there are things that you can do besides just medicine, but actual food intake that can make you feel healthy. So Dawn, I really thank you for joining us today. And I've got a lot of questions to ask you. And the first one I think is probably what's on everyone's mind is it true that you can actually boost your immunity with food?
Yes, totally true. But before I even get in there, I really think it's great what you're doing here, because in unusual times like this, in uncertain times like this, what is very empowering is to feel a sense of control, right? And so one way to feel a sense of control, especially when we're socially isolating and we're at home more, is to start thinking about how we can care for this beautiful, magical thing that we've been giving our human body, right? This is just our most prized possession. And there are ways you can take care of it. And one of those is through food, right? So we know health is holistic, and food is only one piece of the puzzle. You know, it's exercise, it's sleep, it's stress, it's skincare, it's all of these things that make up a whole person. And one of the magical things with food, right? Truly, truly, truly magical things with food is that you put it inside of your human body, you chew it up, and it becomes actually part of your blood, which washes over all of your cells and makes you who you are. So when you think about, can food improve immunity, which is the question we're talking about today, that is a hell yes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah.
in addition, what can't it do, right? It is what our cells are made of. It is the building blocks of everything that is this human body that we have been given to take care of. So it really is an exciting time to think about food not as the enemy like so many people do, right? Like how to eat less, or how to pay attention and track things so that you're losing weight or something like that. This is really what I'm passionate about, using food to improve your quality of life, using food to improve your immunity. So I don't know if I clearly answered your question. Hell yes. So. Hell yes. And I would be so excited to share with you that it doesn't have to be overwhelming. I think part of what is difficult with nutrition is that there's so many voices, so many experts, so much to read that it becomes overwhelming. And either people take that overwhelm and they do all of these little things and they're panicked about it, right? Or they do nothing. They're like, I don't even know what's happening here. I'm just going to do what I keep doing. I'm not going to even try anything new because I don't even know what to try.
Right.
And so I'm going to really clearly today talk about how to keep things simple, but yet powerful, right? So, so that's really my goal in talking to you today about food and immunity, is to keep it simple so that we can all do it. Because this is really something that doesn't have to be hard, and it can actually be fun, you know?
Yes.
So
Yes.
self-care can be fun. Like that's one of the things that, oh, and by the way, I'm not touching my face. Did you
Yeah.
just see that? I'm like, oh my gosh. Sorry. Don't follow my lead. But I think one of the things that's important here is that, self-care doesn't have to be this serious thing. It can be something that you
Right.
have fun with. And in fact, the science of motivation says that if you have fun with something, if you enjoy something, you're more likely to do it. And if you think
Mhm.
about it, right, that's absolutely true. If you're dreading something, you're not going to do it. So let's really keep this light, keep this fun, keep this simple, and talk about the real stuff we can all do to improve our immunity.
Exactly. And I think this is, like you said, this is a perfect time to do that in the essence of social distancing. A lot of us are working from home. A lot of us are just trying to find ways to stay positive because, it is uncertain and it can be scary. And I think one of the things that when I was talking to you earlier, and also why I thought of you immediately, is because of the whole situation that's happening at the grocery stores, which is kind of crazy and kind of unfortunate. And it's like a wild ride at the same time. But, when you think about when you're going to the grocery store and you're thinking, okay, well, do I have to be in self quarantine for 2 weeks? Like, how soon are the grocery stores going to be restocking? I mean, these are actual questions. And as skin therapists and those of us who are business owners, you're also thinking about your staff, yourself, but also to your family and things that you need to go get. So I think a question is, some people may be unsure of what should I buy now to keep me going for 2 weeks. Should I buy extras of stuff? I've seen people stockpiling food, which I don't think is a great idea. But what are some advice as far as what someone should be looking for? I know there's questions about frozen versus fresh, or should I be getting canned foods? So I'd like for you to give us a little bit of your input on that. The
Yep.
great thing on our talk today, guys, as you're tuning in, I've got Dawn's list, which she always has a great checklist. So we'll be able to go through that a little bit later, but maybe starting off with,
Yeah.
what do you think we should be getting when we go to the grocery store to really
Yep.
keep ourselves, healthy?
Yep. So this is easy. So bottom line is what we're trying to do is not go to the grocery store so often, right?
Yeah.
That's all that is happening here. It's not that you'll never be able to go to the grocery store. It's not that there's no supplies and that this is a time to panic. All we're saying is, hey, when you go to the grocery store, go with a plan so that you
Mhm.
can have enough stuff for a week, maybe a week and a half, maybe even 2 weeks, right? That you don't have to keep exposing others to yourself
Yes.
or
Yes.
yourself to others, right? So all this is about is not a panic to rush and stockpile, whatever. It's just to say, hey, let's try and not go to the grocery store a million times. Go with a plan and stock up so you don't have to keep going. That's really what this is about. And so when you think about that, okay, now you can relax a little, take a breath, and you can go in. Some grocery stores are stocking quicker than others, but you can see there are supplies, right? So even though you're seeing these pictures of grocery store shelves being empty, whatever, people are restocking shelves. Different grocery stores have different amounts of things. Okay, fine. You can find food. So what you do is you basically think about, yes, how can I stock my freezer? How can I stock my fridge? How can I stock my pantry? And all of those places to be stocked. So you do not need to only focus on canned food. You do not need to forego all of your fresh produce. I mean, I crave a good salad, man. And so this
Mm-hmm.
is still time. And what's unfortunate is people aren't looking in the fresh section, right? And so things are going to go to waste if we don't buy there. So we need to buy some fresh stuff, and we're going to eat that, sooner. And then start relying on more of the frozen vegetables and canned beans and things like that.
Right.
So anyway, it really is thinking about your fridge, your freezer, and your pantry, and you don't have to fixate on any one of them. And when it comes to fresh stuff, the list that we'll share later is, there are some things that are fresh that can
Right.
last forever. And,
Yeah.
like, I love a cabbage. Okay. I don't feel like cabbage gets the love that it deserves. It is a cruciferous vegetable, just like kale and Brussels sprouts and broccoli and cauliflower.
Mm-hmm.
It is a powerhouse and it lasts forever in your fridge. And when you shred it thin, it makes delicious fresh salads. Carrots and celery last a long time in your fridge. And then in your pantry, it's like onion and garlic and sweet potatoes and white potatoes. So, I mean, we can be eating these fresh foods that are not necessarily, just canned beans and canned tuna, although those are good to have. You don't need to fixate on that. And like in my freezer, once I'm done with all the fresh stuff, I'm going to start using my frozen kale, my frozen spinach, my frozen broccoli, my frozen butternut squash. But again, this is not to be some kind of stockpile panic. It's just like, hey, do you have stuff that you can make for the week that is like burrito bowls that are still fun and fun quesadillas? Like you can have bread and tortillas that are sprouted and whole grain in your freezer so they last a long time. And so like I'm making all sorts of like Mediterranean nachos and fun things.
That sounds so good.
Right. And you can be creative with food in a time like this. You can eat fresh in a time like this, and you don't have to stockpile like crazy, just limiting your trips to the store. That's the moral of the story.
And I like that. It's like have a plan, kind of limit your trips, limit your exposure. So I'm going to pull up on our presentation today some of the items that Dawn that you've listed already, just so our viewers can kind of see that.
Yeah,
so
and this is not a make believe. Oh, good.
Okay.
This is not a make-believe list. This is actually the list that I use, my husband used, when I say my husband, because he went to the store. He shopped for us. So I should give credit where credit is due. So this is actually the list that we use. So this is not make-believe.
Okay, great. So I'm going to go right into a little slideshow so you guys can see this right here. Awesome. So this is the list you were talking about, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I sort of reflected and thought about, my favorite vegetables. So you could buy any frozen veggies, but these are my favorite ones. Like I love to do things like kale and butternut squash together with, later on you'll see, with pasta and a little Parmesan cheese. And like that to me is just such a delicious, like dinnery pasta. Feels gourmet-ish because it's like butternut squash and kale. And so I put those on my list. I love cauliflower rice and mixing it with brown rice. And I buy brown rice already frozen and cooked. So I just have to, quickly thaw it out. So I love putting like the cauliflower rice and the brown rice together to make all sorts of bowls, like burrito bowls or Greek bowls or Asian bowls. Frozen chicken breast is never a bad idea to have in the freezer, right? Because you can do so many things with it. And I always keep my bread and my wraps in the freezer anyway, because they last longer. And it's just really fun to have that kind of stuff. And then, berries I think are always fun. One of my favorite breakfasts is oats with stirred in some sort of nut butter with berries on top. It's like PB&J style oatmeal. And so like, I love the idea of having berries in my freezer. Another breakfast, if I want more savory, I love to have I call it green eggs, where it's like a lot of spinach or kale and eggs in there, with like a piece of toast or in a wrap like that. So it doesn't have to be gourmet stuff, but it like can taste fun and be fun to eat. Just even when you see a list, it's sort of like boring like that. It's like, oh gosh, that seems boring. It's like, no, man, there's so many fun things you can do with all of those standard, foods. And then when you go to your fridge, like I alluded to, I love eggs in the morning, but even last night or the night before, Chris and I, my husband, had a delicious frittata for dinner. And it was just, it was so delicious with like a little glass of wine. We loved it. Cheese for me is one of those things where I don't eat a ton of dairy, but the dairy I choose is very functional. And so for me, cheese is very functional because it helps me love and eat a ton more veggies. So like when I have a little bit of feta cheese or a little bit of Parmesan cheese, oh my gosh, all of a sudden I'm eating all of these vegetables. So that to me is a smart way to use dairy, right? I'm not eating hunks of cheese at a time. I'm using it as a condiment to eat more healthy food. I love I told you, let's just take a moment for cabbage, shall we? I just love cabbage, especially when it's shredded really thin. Like anyway, cabbage, carrots, celery and carrots with nut butter are so delicious to snack on. It's one of my favorite snacks. Don't forget that like apples and oranges and grapefruit, lemon, they last a long time in the fridge, and those are great things to have for a snack. And again, don't forget you can buy fresh stuff, like even lettuce that you feel like, oh, mixed greens always go bad on me, I'm not going to buy any. Buy some, just eat them first, right? And then go to your frozen stash.
Right.
And please do not keep me in this house without dark chocolate. I mean, what are you, are you kidding me? Like get that on your list. Get that on your list. And then I love, part of me is like, I'm not really a gourmet chef, but I do find sauces and dressings that I love that are made with good for you ingredients that can turn any basic food into deliciousness. So I have dressings and hot sauce on my list because I can do things like sesame ginger stir fries, not because I really know how to make a stir fry, but because I have a dressing that's delicious, that's sesame ginger.
Right.
Or, I can make things like barbecue chicken and sweet potato fries and a salad. And that barbecue sauce, like they have no sugar barbecue sauce out in the world. Like getting good dressings and sauces and hot sauce, like stuff like that, do it. Like that'll set you free for everything. And then in the pantry, in your next slide, we can do things like the nut butters that I alluded to and oatmeal I alluded to. Popcorn is a whole grain. It is good for you, and it is a great snack with all your Netflix and chill. You're looking for snacky stuff. Popcorn is a great idea. I've always loved canned beans. Canned beans, you just rinse and drain, and you can use in all sorts of things. And one of the ways I love to use them is in tacos and is in burrito bowls, like yummy. Oh, and quesadillas, delicious. Then tuna and salmon. I think those are really very easy ways to get that good omega-3 fat that, I'm always looking for ways to eat more fish. And tuna and salmon in a can actually is one of just the easiest ways, right? So pasta, I love the garbanzo bean and lentil pastas because they're higher in protein. So love that stuff. Mix that with a kale and butternut squash and Parmesan, or just with regular marinara sauce. Olive oil's on there, garlic, onions, sweet potatoes, white potatoes. If you aren't making sweet potatoes and white potato wedges and like oven fries, like where are you? Like those are fun foods, man. Like lean into that. And don't be afraid of things like bananas and avocados. Cause at first I was like, oh, I shouldn't buy those because like they ripen so fast. No, you know that you can go to the store and you can get bananas that are green. People aren't even buying bananas. You can get those. You can have them ripen. If they get too ripe, you can stick them in the freezer. Same thing with avocados. Buy them hard. Watch it, and as it gets a little bit soft, you can keep it in the fridge, and then it will last a couple of more days. So counter while you let it ripen, and then once you feel like it's getting a little bit of ripe, put it in the fridge. So I love all those things, and you can mix and match for lots of fun. And how I think about eating is themes. So like you can think about Asian themes, Mexican themes, Italian themes, American themes. And then you can kind of sort of look at the food and be like, okay, how can I put these things into themes? Mm-hmm. One thing we bought that I don't have on the list is hummus for Mediterranean style. So you can put that on the list. But awesome. Then after I did this list, because I'm feeling good, knock on wood, feeling good. I thought, ooh, I better have some of that stuff just in case my husband or I are not feeling well. I better have some of that stuff that I usually like when I'm under the weather. And so that's part of this list too, is, that's where thinking about soups and chilies and bone broth that are like nourishing and you feel like you could put it in a mug and just heat it up and eat it and feel soothing. I like crackers, or even like those electrolyte drinks that people will have, or like coconut water with a pinch of salt to, how when you're not feeling well, you really need to hydrate. So, thinking about, you know what, I'm going to go to the store because I'm trying not to go so often. Even though I'm feeling well, I'm going to get some of those foods so that if I don't feel well, they're in my house already.
Yeah. And I love how you did this too. And I wanted to be sure to have this on the slide today for everyone to take a look at, because, there are times that when you get to the store and you're thinking, I don't know what to get, or I'm so overwhelmed, like you mentioned, or what could last a long time. So thank you for doing this. And then also the bit when you aren't feeling 100%, that's when, unfortunately, sometimes I know when I'm not feeling well, I reach towards food that may not be the best choice for me, right? Like cookies and chips and things that are more like comfort food. So I like the really kind of keep your body hydrated and soothe and kind of reducing some of the inflammation, which I think is also very key. Now, you also have a checklist that you shared on your Instagram page.
Yes. You know what? And this was months and months and months ago.
I know. This is crazy.
I had no idea that it was going to be such a hot commodity. I've been all over, radio programs and TV shows with this checklist. Yeah. So I'm definitely excited that you're going to be sharing it with people today, or people who are going to be watching us, because this is what I was alluding to. Like, let's keep it simple. Let's focus on what we can do. Let's feel empowered. This is the checklist for you, right? There's a million things you can do for immunity, but if I just pull it back, tone it down, simplify, these are really the areas to target, right? So
Right.
when you look at the checklist, I really broke it up into, there's food things that you can do. Your immunity starts in your gut. So what are the gut things you can do? There's lifestyle things you can do. There's things that you can actually do to your physical barrier, your body. And then there's some extra like supplement things that you can do.
Mm-hmm.
So I broke it up into those areas. And, if you decided like, hey, I only want to even start in one area, you could, or if you want to make sure, do like a bingo, it's sort of like set up like a bingo chart, like trying to get bingo where you're either really doing well in one category,
Yes.
or you have a line across because you have one in each category, whatever it is. The idea is the more you do on this, the better, but don't feel overwhelmed that you have to do them all.
Right. Right. I think this is great because, again, like you said, you came out with this like a long time ago before any of the, health issues and health scares that we're having right now are actually even a thought in our minds. And I love this because, especially, thinking about it, you're like, oh, okay, sleep. Yes, I do sleep. But then there's other unique things like the probiotics and bringing in some supplements. There's a lot of people have heard about black elderberry syrup. Do you think, I have just a quick question for you on that. Do you think it's best to have something like a syrup, or are there supplements? I've seen like elderberry, like gummies. I've seen things that you can add drops into into your drinks as well. What do you find is important about the elderberry?
Okay, so I was not on the elderberry train. I was like, kind of like, there's many of other supplements you can deal with. But then there was a supplement that I was loving, and I was looking at the ingredients. I was like, look at that. Every supplement I keep picking up has this elderberry. I'm going to research it. So I went into PubMed to look for true research, right? Not what bloggers are saying, not what is the hot thing. And I was like, oh my gosh, there's actually good research on this stuff. So it now ended up on my list because I do believe that it has an impact. And the answer to just about every question when it comes to supplements is, the first and foremost is, what is the way that you are most likely to take it, right? Because taking it is going to be the key. And so for me, I actually have elderberry in a pill form. And it's mixed with other things like the oil of oregano, because I'm not a huge supplement person. I actually am a very food first focused person, and I don't do very well remembering to take pills. So I like the ones that have like all of these things in one.
Right.
So I don't have to do it often. Right. So finding the way that it works for you is always the best answer. And then, if you're not great at supplements, just like I am, is using the visual prompts. So like I have mine, right, on my bathroom counter, so that it's like, oh, hello, like take it. So anyway, again, the supplements though, I just want to really be clear. The word supplement means in addition to supplement something, it means that you're adding it to something.
Right.
So supplements are only going to be effective if they are added to, or they are that little bit extra that you're doing on top of all of the other things. So I included them in this checklist, but I called them extra because they are really not the foundation of what is immunity. You can't just pop a pill and expect for it to help. You have to be doing, yes, we've heard a million times about the hand washing, and I have watched videos, and I've actually improved my hand washing technique. So I'm actually,
seconds.
Yeah, I'm actually pretty thankful of like the whole process. Okay,
exactly.
Fine. But like meditate, or if you're not meditating, I think really the new trend of breath work is even more exciting because, meditation can seem intimidating, but breath work is like everyone can breathe. And so like really thinking about that matters for your immunity. Sleep matters for your immunity. Exercise matters for your immunity. So even if you're a gym person, which I am, I'm a group gym fitness person. My gym is closed. I'm not talking to my fitness friends, but yet I'm out. I'm jogging. There's apps that you can use that make you feel connected, like exercise. And even if you're not jogging to pop music, which is my favorite and highly recommend it, even just a nice walk outside with fresh air, keeping your social distance from people. And one of the things that I think is not on this checklist, but I think is important for immunity, is smiling at each other. Like, you know what I mean? Just because I'm 14 feet away from you, and we are strangers, we are actually neighbors. And more than anything, this has encouraged us to feel like we are all in this together. And so like for immunity, smile and wave at your neighbors, right? Like this doesn't have to be somber time. It is a scary, uncertain
It
time,
is.
right?
Yeah.
But there is something that we can control. And what we can control is our attitude and our thoughts and, you know, our immunity with our food.
Yeah, exactly. And I just want to put that checklist up there because I think even during this time where we're all, you know, staying home, not going out, it's kind of like, what can I be doing? Like, what else can I be doing besides just kind of maybe going stir crazy or having cabin fever? So I'm glad you brought up the points about getting out, getting some exercise, getting some fresh air. You don't have to be connected into large groups. I think this is a perfect time for people who are doing a lot of self-reflection and finding things that are really important to them and really staying connected with their friends and their families versus, you know, via different ways that they can do
Yep.
it
Yep.
versus having to go right up in, you know, in person. I know you and I have had a lot of fun texting and video chatting and really, you know, connecting on this. So I appreciate your jumping on board with me to help support our skin therapists, our business owners in this industry around the world who, of course, are all being affected by this. You know, like you said, we are in this together. We want to be sure that everyone has as much support from different avenues across the world, across the country as possible. And I just thank you for jumping in and, you know, talking to us about food. One of the key things that we need to be aware of and be sensible about and be prepared for as well. So thank you so much for being here
Well,
today.
hey, thank you. And it's great what you're doing. I mean, again, bringing us all together around something that we can be proactive, you know, we can feel empowered about. So love you so much. And thank you all for tuning in.
Thank you. Thanks, Dawn. Okay, everyone, have an awesome, awesome day. And stay tuned for some additional videos coming your way about ways to definitely get through these tough times. As we said, we're in it together and we support you 100%.